He's been getting out of bed, going to work every day, waiting for someone to ask him what the bird. And today was the day.
I bet he has a t-shirt that says that.
Ask me about the bird.
I relate to this librarian on like a deep and spiritual level.
So did I. This is me waiting for people to ask me about Supernatural.
Same. Literally.
My name is KJ, and you're listening to the Supernatural Opinions podcast, where some things in this world are supernatural. My pronouns are she, they, and this is the podcast where I talk to my fellow Supernatural fans about Supernatural, and we share our Supernatural opinions. Today we're recapping Season 1, Episode 19, Provenance, which originally aired on April 13th, 2006, and here to help me do that are my guests of the week, Meredith, Julia, and Francis. Let's start with Meredith.
Hello. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm really tired.
And Julia.
Hello, I'm Julia. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm happy to be here as always.
And Francis.
Hi, I'm Francis. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm super excited to be back.
Yeah, we've had Meredith here every week.
Basically.
Julia's been here a bunch, Francis has been here a bunch. They've never all been here together at the same time, so...
What?
But get used to it, because we've got like 2 weeks of this, so we are just running this train. Yeah, this is a good group.
We'll be very familiar with each other by the end of this.
Yes. This week's episode will contain spoilers for this episode. It may reference previous episodes, but will not contain spoilers for later episodes of Supernatural. This week's episode is titled Provenance, and that's a reference that's explained in the episode, so we will just get to it in our recap. But for a little overview, it's basically just like documentation for paintings or antiques or things that show where they're from, help prove authenticity. And I think that the word Provenance means the place of origin or earliest known history. And I think this episode is a little bit about that for our boys in a lot of ways. Establishing stuff. There's some stuff happening with the boys. Let's just leave it at that and we'll get to it. This week's episode was written by David Ehrman and directed by Phil Segrisha. We saw Phil Segrisha's work just a few episodes ago in Nightmare. The Man is a Regular with Eric Kripke. Phil's directed 1 episode of Revolution, 45 of Supernatural, and so far 4 of The Boys, which are all Eric Kripke shows. So they go like a long ways back.
Ooh, cool.
David Ehrman likely came to Supernatural for this one singular episode after his 2 episodes of 24. He's written a bunch of stuff, including 5 episodes of Greenleaf, 4 Queen of the South, 3 episodes of Lie to Me, and 65 episodes of Dennis the Menace, which my brother narrowly avoided being named after.
Oh my gosh, Dennis the Menace? That's a TV show?
Yeah.
I thought it was just the movies.
I thought it was a comic.
I think it's all 3. All of those are correct. My parents, when I was born, lived next door to the Wilsons, and we moved before my brother was born, but my mom always says that if my brother had been born, like, if I had been a boy, I would have been Dennis, because we lived next door to the Wilsons, which I think is funny, but I'm really glad that my name's not Dennis.
Well, yes, it's not a very good name on its own.
I love Dennis the Menace. I used to watch that all the time.
Because they would have called me Dennis the Menace. Like, like that would have been the full name. And I don't think I would have lived up to it super well. I was a pretty tame child. Although I guess if they'd been calling me that since birth, I probably would have been a more rebellious child. On to the recap. Let's just get right into it. We start with a pretty close look at the painting that this episode is about. A man and a woman are hanging the painting, and the wife is already having some buyer's remorse because the painting's a little creepy. And she's right, it's creepy.
But it's so cool. Why do they hate it so much?
I have thoughts. We'll get to my thoughts later on when we see another placement in someone else's house of this painting.
I love it. Maybe that says more about me than the painting, but it's so cool.
I think that's correct. But they've been drinking all day while they were buying this painting, and they are ready to go upstairs and have sex. The wife heads upstairs. The husband's locking up the house for the evening, as husbands do, apparently. The wife has lingerie and a candle. She's very ready for them to get down to business.
To defeat the Huns.
That's what I was thinking.
There's a little peek back at the painting. The straight razor on the side table is missing, and the father in the painting, or the husband, I guess he's also a husband in the painting still, is now facing a different direction. The hubby gets upstairs, it's dark, he gets in a bed, it's wet, and he turns the light on, and his wife Anne is just dead, super dead, and he is about to be as well.
Oh no.
Title card, and then Dean is getting a phone number from a girl at the bar. Her name is Brandy, maybe with a Y, maybe with an I. She doesn't answer.
Either way, it's hilarious that she's at the bar and her name is Brandy.
Yes, I mean, unavoidable, I guess. If you're named after an alcohol and you go to a bar, it's just gonna be a problem you're gonna have.
Her twin sister is named Champagne.
Oh. Sam is sitting at a table with a newspaper and he flags Dean down, and Dean brings over 2 beers, even though they already have 2 full beers at the table.
Okay.
I just noticed, like, when we, like, zoomed out on Sam, there was already 2 full beers, and then Dean brought 2 more over. I was like, how much are they planning on drinking? Why didn't they drink the first 2?
There's a lot we could say here, but we should just move on.
Sam has a potential case, and Dean wants to pump the brakes so he can have some fun, sexy times with Brandy. Sam is annoyed because Dean is always lying to women about what they do to make himself more attractive, which is not necessary and kind of skeevy. And Dean doesn't need help picking up women. He just looks like that. Like, you don't need to lie about it.
He's too pretty.
Genetics are your friend.
Yeah. Dean is too amused by his cover story. Like, he's getting too much enjoyment out of lying. I'm not into it.
What's his cover story?
I think he said that they were, like, reality TV scouts, so, like, they're, like, looking for people to be on reality TV shows.
Oh, that's terrible. Not only are you lying about yourself, but you're lying about opportunities for the girl.
Yeah, it's not good. Sam declines Dean's offer to set her up with Brandy's friend. He never mentions Brandy's name to Sam. I'd noticed, like, he's literally talking about her like she could be any person, and I'm sure he's already forgotten her name.
Yeah.
Sam says that he can get his own dates, and Dean's like, yeah, you can, but you don't. And Sam is, like, a little bit defensive of it, and Dean's like, okay, the case. You were talking about a case. So I just checked the timeline really quick. It's like late June, early July of 2006, so it's only been 7 or 8 months since Sam watched the woman that he loves die the same way that their mom died. I'm just a reminder, it's been like less than a year.
I love how, like, we're not even a season into this podcast, and we've already brought up Jessica's death more than they have.
Literally. This is exactly what we were talking about when we covered Shadow, with Dean trying to guide Sam into, like, this, like, comp het. Like, Sam is not performing his sexuality enough, and Dean is prompting him to behave in a way that affirms their perceived straightness. Sam tells us that the opening scene couple are Mark and Ann Teleska in New Paltz, New York, and it's been a few days since they were found dead. No explanation of how they died.
'Twas messy.
Yeah, it was messy, and their house was locked up. John's journal has 3 similar murders in 1912, 1945, and 1970, all the same MO, no explanation. Again, John is a bad hunter, but he's really good at patterns. I think that John actually would have been a great man of letters if he had been raised as an intellectual.
Which is hilarious.
Yeah, like, I think John is really bad at hunting, but I think he would have been a really good man of letters.
You could have had better opportunities, Johnny boy.
Yeah. That just, wasn't his path. The journal convinces Dean that it's worth looking into, but he still wants to go sleep with Brandy and possibly also her friend. Like, he maybe wants both of them. Which is, I mean, fair enough. If everybody's willing in that situation, go for it.
That's what you're into.
But I just like that Sam was like, I don't want to date some random girl's friend. And Dean's like, I guess I'll take both.
Oh darn, I have to take both.
Such a hardship.
I'll force myself.
If I have to.
For you, Sam.
The next cut is Dean asleep in the passenger seat of the Impala with his sunglasses on, because that is right, Sam is driving. Dean seems possibly hungover. Sam's already deep into the casework. The Teleskas and their house were totally normal, but their stuff is already all up for auction.
That is... Oh gosh.
Cue a series of expensive cars, including one with a vanity plate of the Crib, as in Kripke, and honestly, their car looks really perfectly placed with all these expensive cars, aside from the fact that it's a little muddy. Like, it's, like, meant to be like, oh, like, look at this car that's really out of place, they don't belong here, but their car honestly fits in with all these expensive cars.
Did the Teleskas not have a will?
Maybe their will. I mean, there was no indication that they had children or family, so maybe there isn't anyone to take their shit.
My gosh, rich people are so weird.
But you would think if you are, like, buying, like, paintings at auction and you're going to auctions regularly, and their house seemed very large and nice, that, yeah, you would make sure that that's taken care of, but I guess not.
And now we have to deal with these, like, vulture rich people.
Yeah. This place, the auction place, is fancy. They should have at least put on the Fed suits or something before walking in. Like, I don't know what the thought process here was, that they're just gonna walk in their regular clothes.
I don't know what Sam was thinking, but I feel like with Dean, it's like an act of rebellion.
I feel like, like, they could have just gotten, like, away with so much if they just put the suits on.
They could have, but it's about the statement.
Especially since they were trying to pass as art dealers. I'm like, y'all, art dealers don't dress like that. Even, like, realistic, like, the modern day artists.
I know.
Dean requests some champagne, and Sam informs Dean that the man who has approached them is not a waiter, and says that they are Sam and Dean Connors. I don't know where he pulled Connors out from, but
his butt.
They're art dealers of Connors Limited. The man is Daniel Blake, and he owns the auction house. It's a closed auction, and they're not on the list. Dean does not take a hint. He is just so absolutely, like, rude, and, like, not even rude, but just, like, tactless. He's not even trying to get them, like, covered. At least work with Sam a little bit and try and get this cover story across, but no, nothing.
Do you think, like, his issue with, like, wealthy people might be kind of similar to his issue with police?
I think
like,
it is.
He could be, he could, like, prove how competent he is here, but he's not.
This is also the thing with, like, the Dean type character. Like, for example, like, Bones and Booth get compared to Supernatural all the time.
Yeah.
And Booth and Dean get compared to each other a lot. And Booth also has a similar issue with wealth. He obviously doesn't have the same issue with police because he is the police, but...
Oh, yes.
Booth has a serious issue with rich people, and yeah, it really feels like Dean as well. It's like, well, rich people kind of deserve what they get.
Yeah, there's this, like, I don't know, underdog, stick it to the man kind of mentality.
Yeah. Sam is drawn to this painting from the Telesco's house, and enter Sarah Blake descending down a beautiful spiral staircase from above.
Like Cinderella.
I fell in love with Sarah Blake in this rewatch. Everybody prepare yourselves now. It's not good. I have too good of a time with it.
Oh gosh.
Sarah makes a comment about the painting being an example of American primitive, and this is where we learn a new detail about Sam. He knows a few things about art. Sam counters by disagreeing, saying it's more Grant Woods than Grandma Moses. If you don't know Grant Woods, he painted the very famous painting American Gothic. You've probably seen it.
Yeah.
If not, Google is free. Sam also knows that Sarah knew that and was testing to see if he knew that. And Sarah is Sarah Blake, the daughter of Daniel Blake, the owner of the auction house that we just met. And she is beautiful.
That is true.
Sam is definitely embarrassed as Dean is now stuffing his face with tiny quiches. But Sarah seems immediately affectionately enamored with Dean and offers to find him some more. And I would also like to be offered tiny quiche. They're so good.
I'm Dean in this situation.
I would like to be a Sam, but I am yeah, Dean.
It's like, oh look, a chance at romance, but there's also a chance at quiche, like
little tiny ones too. They're so cute. My work used to have those, and they're so delicious. I worked at a place that like had those, and they were so good. Sam asks Sarah to see the Provenances from the Telesca estate, but her father is back. He says no. It took him 3 seconds to check the guest list that they aren't on. Dean says they don't need to be told twice to leave, and Daniel points out that apparently they do. And Sam's like, fine, we're gonna go.
Yeah, shut up, Daniel.
Sam took an art history course in college and said, it's good for meeting girls. We know absolutely nothing about what Jess was studying, so if you want to think that this is how they met, I support that.
Yeah, I support that too.
I think that would be so cute if they met in art history.
Yay. I'm taking an art history course this year. It's interesting.
Their motel is disco themed and somehow black and white and bright all at once.
That's horrifying.
It's so black and white that is bright. Dean suggests that even if they can't get the provenances, maybe Sarah will just give them the info that they need, and Sam is quick to say hookups are Dean's thing, not his. He is not interested in Sarah's interest in him or his butt. Because Dean makes a point to being like, she was looking, man.
Oh dear.
Sam doesn't want to use Sarah to get information, but he breaks down and does it anyways. Sam gets nice and dressed up for his date. He doesn't wear a tie, but he's got a clean white button-up shirt and a jacket. He looks very nice. This is how they should have walked into the auction house. And it looks like a nice place to eat dinner.
It does. There's probably like piano music in the background or something.
Yeah.
A a violinist in the corner.
Something like that. It looks like really nice. I was impressed with the restaurant. It's Sam's first date since Jessica's death. Again, I love Sarah. She sees that Sam's like struggling with the wine list. Same, buddy. That's too many choices. I'm ordering water if I see that many choices on a drink menu. Like, even if I want an alcoholic drink, I don't know what to order. And if I'm like, oh, can I see like the menu and there's that many options, like I'm just gonna get water and not drink at all. Not because I don't want to drink, but because I don't know how to make a choice. So she sees that Sam's struggling and she's like, I'm just gonna have a beer. And Sam's like, yes, okay, a beer. I can do that.
That's an option. Oh, thank goodness.
Thank goodness. Yeah, he's like saved. Sarah was studying art in school and wanted to be an artist. Apparently she was a bad artist, but I think she was probably great.
Art is completely subjective. You can be good if you say you are.
Exactly. So she went into the auction.